You want to know how to move forward in the world as your own self, how to understand her, and how to be a kick-ass, phenomenal man in relationship.
I'm gonna tell you about a woman whose heart is sunshine, whose body burned hot. I'm gonna tell you about a woman who's cold as tundra with some frozen eyes. I can tell by the way she moves.
Welcome to the C-Note Show, everyone, brought to you by Great Men Move Mountains. It's 11:03 here Mountain Time on June 16th, 2020. You are here because this is where, as a man, you do your daily work. You learn the three forms of confidence: behavioral, emotional, and spiritual. And you want to know how to move forward in the world as your own self, how to understand her, and how to be a kick-ass, phenomenal man in relationship. We say to be your own hero and the man of her dreams. That's what we learn here, of how to do that, regardless of where you are now, whether you're separated and divorced, like I experienced in 2015 and like I went through back in 2015, and I was in that free fall and the abyss and the purgatory and the pit of hell and the despair, and the radar felt like it was right here for me, right, in 2015. And so we are here for you gentlemen that are in that now, or you're working your way through that, or you're coming out the other side and you want to learn how to be a fucking amazing man in the world and support the man next to you, to reach down into the mud and pull that next man up like I was, like you were in the past. So I love that you're here. Cynthia Cruz is my co-host, amazingly beautiful and talented professional coach, Miss Cynthia Cruz. Hi, Cynthia.
Hey, good morning. Thank you, all of you who are here. It is my deepest pleasure every morning to be here, and each of you truly make a difference. So thank you for your presence, and thank you for having me.
Phenomenal. Today, Cynthia's going to share more about her pie, the female pie that we're going to dig into today. We love eating our female pie. And I've got a funny clip and some other clips as well. Tony Robbins, I hope we're going to get to today. And I've got 4 clips primed, so we'll see that we can get to all those. And our theme of this week is, who am I really? Who am I really through all of this? What's going on in my life, and who am I now? Who was I, and who am I becoming? You are that same man, and you are starting to rise here on the C-Note Show. Again, this is where we do our daily work as men. Our theme of this week, who am I really? We're talking about boundaries, values, learning how to pet the elephant. So to call out the elephant in the room and learning how to pet the elephant. And we want to give our gift and not wait. And how can we do that? We're going to dig into that more specifically today. I want to start off with a question that I received from a private client. This particular one wasn't on the forum. This was from an email I got over this weekend. The gentleman asked that he stay completely anonymous. So let's call him Tarzan, right? We've got Tarzan and Barbie. So Tarzan, this is Tarzan. Tarzan's confused. We've been working together for about a month. And like many guys, like I was, after only a month of men's work, I was confused, right? Like I felt like my journey had started in the right direction. And then shit kind of hit the fan again. She came around and threw some emotions into my face, or into into Tarzan's face. And he wasn't sure how to deal with it. She had an emotional storm, and it was a big one, right? And we'll talk about exactly what that looks like here in a moment. And he's not quite sure. You know, he's kind of on his heels right now, and he reached out for some more help. I sent him a voicemail last night, and I decided to go ahead and bring this onto the show today. So number one, we can post in the chat like we always do to give him support, and also to share if you've had an experience like this, right? Because this is all about, we're not alone in this, guys. We're absolutely not alone. And most of us have experienced all of the same emotions. That's why we're here. We're here to share and to support each other and to learn how to step forward and kick ass. Here we go. I tried, and I took out what he tried. It's an activity that I had him step forward into that was going well. And then she kind of reacted in a way that was surprising to him. So I tried what you suggested, Jeff, and she started to talk about how empty she felt. Right now, one thing I want to point out, and Cynthia, I'm going to pause right here. She started to talk about how empty she felt, and I want to bounce off you right away. Before we get in, I've got a comedy clip too, but I want to read this. But let me bounce to you first, Cynthia. So she started to open up. She started to share how empty that she felt, right? So before, often we're in the, like, she wants space. She doesn't want to talk about anything. She doesn't want any interaction with you whatsoever. When we work on as a man in coaching of stop fucking up, when we start to grow our own self, okay, when we start to grow our own self is when she starts to feel maybe she can open up a little. And guess what? It's not like rainbows and unicorns that she opens up first thing. It's not, oh, this is so great, mate. You know, we have sex now. Like, that's not that's not how it goes. So Cynthia, I'm curious, when a woman starts to open up, and when she starts to open up, she shares pain. Give us, a short idea of what's going on with her. and why that's a good thing. I tell men that that's a good thing. That's a part of this process. It doesn't feel good in the moment, but the fact that she's put the shield down and starts to open up to her pain is sometimes often a surprise to men that are doing this work, right, guys? So Cynthia, what's going on there when she's starting to open up and she first shares pain, not positivity, and that surprises him? Please.
Yeah, this is a really good thing, because she's inviting you into connection. She's inviting you to connect into her emotional experience of life. And again, that's how women often do that with each other. If a woman who says nothing and just like, oh, I'm fine, that's a total wall. And so for her to share with you, that's her being vulnerable. It's sharing her underbelly, especially a comment like, I just feel empty. As a woman at our core, we know that to feel successful as a woman, that it's about feeling alive in ourselves. And that's kind of part of our job. And so when we feel empty, we absolutely feel like we're failing in a level of our femininity, whether we're conscious of that or not. So for her to share that is an absolute guttural, this is where I'm at, completely. She may still have her cloak and dagger, but that's her really being naked in front of you.
Yeah, nice. Good, I love it. So the cloak and dagger is a metaphor Cynthia and I are working on as well. We'll talk more about that today. And that's her opening up like that is her being emotionally naked in front of you, being vulnerable, going out on a limb. And that's a good thing, right? So I'm going to circle back. I try to always start with some comedy. That's my goal. I was up last night grabbing some clips. So we've got some comedy here to start off with. It's about a 2-minute little short. And then we're going to dive back into the shit. And then we're going to bounce back up off the bottom of the pool with perspective and a plan and specific tools of exactly what to do. I've got also a quote from Hold On to Your Nuts today that I pulled out. So we've got a lot of awesome stuff. So here's a 2-minute clip of a woman being vulnerable. She's actually sharing and trying to express everything about this topic. Here we go. Pay attention.
Spinach, 3 eggs, 2 large aubergines, 6 small courgettes, and Fontina cheese.
Mummy?
Yes, darling.
What's virgin mean?
Sorry, darling?
What does virgin mean?
Girls and boys, I mean grown-ups, bodies are different, but they're made to fit together in a very clever way. Like a jigsaw.
Like the jigsaw's grandpa does?
Yes. I mean, no. When a mummy and a daddy love each other a lot, then sometimes they like to show each other just how much they love each other.
Does Daddy give Mummy a present?
Sort of.
What kind of presents?
Daddy has a special thing, and so has Mummy. And when Mummy and Daddy want to make something very special, to make a baby, then Daddy takes his special thing and puts it in Mummy's special place.
Winchester?
No.
The shoe shop?
No, darling. A special place on Mummy's body. And that makes Mummy feel very happy. Makes Daddy feel happy as well. And eventually, after a while, or sometimes quite quickly, Daddy gets so happy, there's a sort of whoosh and an explosion, and all Daddy's little seeds shoot out and race to get to Mummy's egg. And that's called making love. Anyway, until you do it for the first time, you're, well, a virgin. I think that just about covers it.
So, what's extra virgin mean?
What's extra virgin? Yeah, and sometimes quite quickly and whoosh. Oh my goodness. Cynthia, what does extra virgin mean?
It means your eyes have been closed the whole time. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. Until you open your eyes, you're no longer extra virgin. Very nice. All right. So let's dive back in. Let's dive into the water, guys. Let's dive into the pool. Here we go. She said she might feel better and be a better wife down the road, but she had nothing in her other than trying to make it at work and with the girls. So her work is like 11 out of 10 stressful. And her girls, one of the girls is going away for college this fall. And so, his wife is totally freaking out about both of these things, which is justified for lots of different reasons, but basically no space for him. Again, she encouraged me to find physical intimacy elsewhere until she could, because she knew it was one of my needs. She wasn't angry. She wasn't pushing me away. She just seemed like she had no hope. She said she didn't know if she would ever be back to normal. So until she could again, and then she's not sure if she's ever going to be back to normal. I just feel a little lost in the process and would appreciate it if you could help me to understand what is next. What is next? So she's in the past brought up that maybe he should find his physical needs elsewhere. And then over the past 3 days, twice she's brought up with him that maybe he should find his physical needs elsewhere. This physical intimacy, because she knows it's one of his needs, that he may find that elsewhere. Okay, some things to unpack here. Cynthia, I want to definitely segue into your pie, your female pie. Do we have a different, by the way, if you don't mute yourself, do we have a different name for the pie at this point just yet, or is it her pie at this moment?
I think pie does it.
You have to say it like that, though. Her pie.
Her pie.
Her pie. There's her pie. Yeah. And yesterday we began, yesterday's show, we began with certainty, and a woman feels worth and safety through certainty. And those are statements or connections with her. So she feels worth your time. So she feels valuable. And you might say things like, I see how hard you work. Your skill at blank, fill in the blank, is incredible. I really appreciate you. I admire how you do that thing, fill in the blank. And that helps her feel certainty that you're there for her, that you feel she's worthy, and that she can feel safe within that space with you. So let's jump back to our question of today. And if we're going to roll into significance, if we're going to roll into another piece of the pie today, then I'd love for you to offer your thoughts there. But when a woman, seemingly is overwhelmed in life, her emotional and her anxiety watermark, as we've said in this show, is she's underwater, right? So here on the camera, the water level is at the very top, and you have basically no room to win. Or for her anxiety in life, of all of life, is topped out, and she's drowning. You don't have any space to really grow together, and it's hard to even connect with her at that moment because she feels overwhelmed with absolutely everything in life. Yeah, Cynthia? And so if she's saying, well, maybe you should go get physical intimacy and your needs met elsewhere, where do you think that she's coming from, please, right? So not every man is going to experience this, but maybe emotionally she kind of gives you that feeling, guys, or she gives you the emotional stiff arm and shoves you away and says, I just want to be friends, right? I want space. I just want to be friends. Maybe she's even seeing other men. Okay, we have men on this call that are in that spot where she's given the stiff arm, you're still technically married, and she's seeing other men. Shit, guys, in 2015, I experienced that. She was with another man physically while we were still married. So I understand what that's like. So Cynthia, take us a little bit, please, into this spot with the goal of how can a man move forward from here when she's saying something like, I just want to be friends. I'll stay married, but I just want to be friends. Or I'll stay married, and yet maybe you should go get your physical needs elsewhere. Take us down the rabbit hole for a minute, and we'll relate that to your pie that we're developing this week, a woman's pie pieces, please.
Yeah. Well, to kind of relate to our original question, and I have been there, and I dive into dips of that. When a woman says that she just doesn't have anything left, and that her, her watermark is that high. To me, that indicates that she's functioning at a really high, panicked survival rate in herself of trying to be masculine. And she might be consciously trying to do that. She may feel like a victim to that, that her whole life is like do list, and that there's no room to sway from that. I can tell you in my own life, when I get masculine, when I think that I'll only be valuable in my job, in that skill set, when I think that there's so much to take care of and so much to be aware of, that every moment of the day is scheduled and I need to be productive and efficient on top of things. Plus I've got emotional stuff that I'm trying to like compartmentalize. It's like I'm suddenly living in a desert and there's just no water source around. And it feels like you're functioning like you're in a machine, but there's no juice there. And in that place, there's like without any juice, without any water energy, there's no sensuality and sexuality. And it's hard for her to even imagine what that would be like to feel that again until she is, reminded. To me, when I walk next to lakes or water or the rain, that reminds me of that different kind of way of being. But I will also say it is the men in my life who, when they are embracing their masculinity, valuing it in themselves, standing in their presence, it's like a gravitational pull. I start feeling my femininity again. I start feeling the juice again. And it's like having life back.
Cynthia, I was just taking some notes. So how does that feel? How does he draw you toward feeling feminine again? So especially in this spot where she's, said she wants space, or she, doesn't want him to really try. That's the way she's feeling. Because what you were just saying is, it's hard for her to even imagine sexuality until she is reminded. That's what you said. So now, of course, gentlemen, we're not suggesting that you do all these things and, jump through your butt and do cartwheels to try to remind her of your masculinity. On yesterday's show, Cynthia talked specifically about what strong centered masculinity feels like and looks like. So Cynthia, if you'd remind me and the gentleman watching this, the man watching this right now, right, what it's like to be around a grounded masculine presence. Does he have to talk a lot? Does he have to try a lot? What does he need to do? What does that feel like?
I love using the word like golden energy when you are standing in your presence as a man in that centered place and that very present place where you're in that moment. And your heart is open and full of gratitude, and your feet have roots that are going far beneath you into the floor. I have never experienced such like relief in my own body and like the musculature of my body, just being in the presence of men who are present and owning themselves. It's like a physiological response. I don't even have a thought process for it because it's just so automatic.
So I took some notes here. Like all the guys are writing these down. I took some notes here. It's his golden energy, his presence in place, his present place, his centered place. Heart is open, full of gratitude. Feet have roots deep into the floor. And that equals a feeling of relief in my own body, he said. Feeling of relief. And so why is that a feeling of relief, right? So she's got all the stress at work and her daughter's moving away in this example from our gentleman here today, from Tarzan here today. So what do you mean it's a relief in her body? And how does he know? How does he know he's making progress, right? It's like, Jeff, how do I know that I'm doing the right thing here? Help me into the next phase. Help me into the next step. How do I know I'm doing the right thing? Please, Cynthia.
So it's a feeling of relief because I would say a woman in a more masculine place, she's trying to be protector and provider, either for the family, her children, herself. And as much as I feel, the feminine warrior in me, the hero in me, feeling like I need to be in protector mode, or I'm on top of everything, or everything will fall apart, that I'm not safe unless I have control over everything. That I'm like one step away from slipping off the bank. That's in a constant state of tension and like doing. And so to feel, that's what masculinity does. You have this ability to model. I'm not even sure if it's like your ability to compartmentalize. I don't know if it's just a connection you have to something far bigger than yourself. But I always learn from you how to, kind of step off the ledge and to know that it is going to be okay, and be grounded and not obsessed with, task listing. And if every little detail is not taken care of, then everything will fall apart. That's something incredible I've always learned from men.
So I was just adding on the end there that it's a feeling of everything is going to be okay. So you said in her masculine place, she's trying to be protector and provider within herself, not safe unless she has control over everything and is a constant state of tension. And to you, Cynthia, masculinity has the ability to model, and maybe because of our ability to compartmentalize, or a connection to something far bigger than ourselves. I always learn from you, you said. It's okay to be grounded and not task listing. It's okay to be, or it's going to be okay. So a connection far bigger than yourself. So I want to jump to the female pie pieces, and then I want to move into what does it mean to feel a connection with something far bigger than yourself, okay? And this isn't just the cliche like, oh yeah, we feel a connection. And it's like, okay, what the hell does that mean? Like, that's all nice and everything. Does that mean I go to church once a week and that's giving me a connection? What does this mean, right? What's the spiritual underpinning of things in a connected way, not necessarily religious, but in a connected, timeless way? And how does that balance with our ego, our human part of ourselves? Right? How do we manage those two different energies that are always there? If whether we're denying one or we're trying to pretend like we're a fucking monk in the other, like there's always those two energies there. I mean, you could go, like I literally went and taught English in Southeast Asia and Burma and Myanmar. And you can go be a monk. Like you can go be a monk and eat one meal a day at 10:30 in the morning and sleep on a mat on the floor and wear a robe and go beg for your food. Like you can have, I could have stayed and been a monk if I wanted to. I went to a monastery with 500 children and taught English, and that's a story for another time. So Cynthia, I want to relate that to your pie example here. And the number 2 we were going to get to today of her wanting to feel significance. And you mentioned the word impact. And up here in your note says, by the way, again, we're developing this, guys, right? So as we go here, this is cutting edge stuff that we utilize professionally every day and we have for years. And we're putting this now into a framework and into words. And Cynthia is as well. Of course, this is Cynthia's spearheading this. So the second row there says significance, and the word is impact. And you put that this means like a king energy, Cynthia, in her life. And without this, things would be different, and she needs to inspire herself. And so this is, in your words, she feels significance by having impact. And so let me jump a half step. If I'm a man and she doesn't feel like she has impact on me, okay, or I don't feel like I have impact in the world other than trying to influence my family, if I'm just going through the motions and I'm in my career and I like, oh yeah, my 9 to 5, and I don't really know, I'm not really excited about life. And so you as a man don't have impact in the world that you're excited about, that she can't feel. She wants to have impact within her own life, Cynthia. This is what we talked about this morning. So catch me up into, and every man watching, She wants to feel significance. She wants to feel impact, right? If we as a man aren't bringing that into our life so she can be aboard that adventure. Help us understand that, please.
Yeah, well, I loved last week there was a video about king energy, and it showed how kings of the days long gone past would they would be so confident in their own impact in the world and in their kingdom that they felt completely safe and saw the value, and they would have subjects, they would have counsel come regularly, and they'd sit with them and listen to their feedback and kind of take that in and process that, take in the value and the strengths that was offering to them to then lead further, better, and greater. But it never would take away from their own energy as king, their leadership, their own sense of themselves. And I know as a woman, when I don't feel like what is essentially more feminine in me, and I'm talking about like the trustworthy, grounded feminine, right? Not the harder collie energy to deal with sometimes, but when that energy doesn't seem to have impact or importance in people's lives that matter to me, that's really painful, and it's really hard to feel significant. And I then and in the past would deal with that by going, oh man, okay, I have this need in me to make a difference, to know that I matter. And the way I must need to do that is to get more masculine, right? And do things in that way. And then it would almost become an addiction because, I would maybe get some feedback that, what I'm doing is important and matters. And yet I was dying inside. And a couple gentlemen put in the chat earlier, like, man, what you describe with a woman being in the desert sounds a little bit like depression. And it does feel that way because it's not aligned with who you truly are. And yet you think, gosh, I can't do that because that doesn't have meaning and purpose. I have to be this certain way to have any sort of significance.
Yeah, thank you so much. So gentlemen, we've learned on this show of how to connect with her, right? We have tools in the private forum. We've talked about in the previous, this is our 9th week of the C-Note show of how to connect with her and how to try to connect with her in that way. So, hey, sweetheart, it seems like something's really bothering you. I'm here. Tell me what's underneath that. I'm here for you to share. Okay. Those are ways to actually ask her. But if that's not going well, or she wants space and she doesn't want you to be asking her those things, right? She's basically said, like, don't talk to me. So how as a man can I lead in my own life? That's what I'm going to go into right now. So what can I do regardless of what's going on with her? Or if I'm not with a woman, like if she's separated and we're not in the same house, or I'm trying to grow my own self through this stage, the second stage of coaching here, and I'm not ready to ask her anything, and she's not even really wanting to talk to me right now, how do I grow on my own? That's what I'm going to talk about right now. So I'm going to read a clip from Hold On to Your Nuts, a section from Hold On to Your Nuts, and I've got about a 1 minute and 30-second clip from Tony Robbins. And I do want to open it up in about 10 minutes from now for questions in this topic. Okay, guys, so you can certainly post in the chat, and Cynthia, I'd love for you to honor the chat. And gentlemen, or if you want to raise your hand in the participant section, I'm going to go into, well, what can we do on our own right now with the knowledge that Cynthia just shared with us of how we kick ass in the world and have our own adventure. Okay? And if we don't have our values defined, if we don't have our nuts defined, our non-negotiable, unalterable terms defined, then we're adrift. Then our sail is flapping in the wind and we're being blown around by whatever storm is happening, whether it's from her or society or politically or in our work. So we need to understand and have these anchors for ourselves so we can either ground ourselves or we need to true our sails here. So from part 1, Wayne Levine's Hold On to Your Nuts. What are nuts? Nuts are the things you're committed to, the things that matter more than anything else. Okay, and then he goes on from there, and we can give examples like your family, your work, your integrity, your honesty, the man you are in the world. Here's a really great thing I want to share with you guys, okay? If she's saying she wants space, and often sharing your nuts prematurely is often an indication of your need for approval. You may be tempted to mention your nuts to your woman to test her reasoning and to see what resistance you may be up against. Nuts are to be lived, not discussed. So resist the temptation to talk about your nuts. Wait until you're ready and then live them. So wait until you're ready. What does that mean? Well, you've taken it to the men, you've written it down, you've maybe practiced into your phone, and you know what you want to say. You know what you want to be as a man. So let's say she's separated and she comes to you and says something like, yeah, you seem like in a really big hurry to get divorced because maybe you're just trying to figure out the financial situation, or you visited an attorney so you understand your rights and you don't want divorce, but she kind of throws this at you, right? So you seems like you're moving really fast towards divorce. You know, you're moving on your own. Why don't we just get this done now? Or what is this men's work that you're doing? It seems like you're going this new direction. I don't like the direction that you're going. Okay? And maybe your nut is that what I'm doing is I'm grounding in myself, and I'm understanding my value in the world and in and of myself and my direction in life. The way I want to go in life, the things that I'm excited about in life, the positive things I have to look forward to. And I would love those to be with us together. And regardless, this is the life I'm going to have. This is the man that I'm going to be. I'm going to be of deep integrity, regardless of what happens. Okay. Now, I'm obviously practiced in saying these kind of things, but that took me about 15, 20 seconds to say, right? Or you may say, you know, yeah, that's a good point. I'm understanding, so I can be solid. I can be a solid father for our children, because the number one thing that matters to me is our kids, and that they feel confident in the world and positive in the world. And I would love for us to be a family together. Regardless, I'm going to be the best man that I can be for them and for myself ongoing. So that's my nut, is to be an amazing father. Or my nut is to be positive and kick ass in the world regardless. But I waited until she kind of asked me or came to me. I didn't say, oh, hey, Barbie, let me tell you what I've been working on in my mentor. I'm going to be a great man in the world. Hey, where are you going? Come back. I want to share my, nuts with you. It's this thing called nuts. And she's like, look, she doesn't want to fucking hear that right now. Like, you get, right? Wait, come back. Let me tell you. No, you wait for her to come to you. You wait for her to come to you. And along the way, you're doing these things. So here we go. Tony Robbins for about 1 minute and 30 seconds.
What is it that's going to truly fulfill you? What is it that's going to give you that extraordinary life? What's going to make things magnificent on your terms, not somebody else's terms, not your father, your mother, your background? What is that really? Separate the vehicle, because there's many ways to get to that vehicle. But I'm saying sometimes you got to reevaluate what's going to really make you fulfilled. What is your gift? Are you an artist? Are you the talent that can produce something no one else produces as a skill or a product or a service or some impact? Are you incredibly good at management? You really know how to manage or lead people? Are you an extraordinary entrepreneur that can take that gigantic gut load of risk and can create the vision and attract the talent that you need and the managers and leaders? You may have all three abilities, but which one really fulfills you the most is going to be the critical question. Because we tend to want to do them all, especially in a room like this, because you're all overachievers, right? Me too. And you say, well, I can do all these. Yes, you can, but what will it do to your quality of life? See, again, the secret's going to be this. What is an extraordinary life on your terms today? Getting clear about that. At this stage of life, where you are, where you want to go. At some level, you have a blueprint, a mindset, a belief system, a philosophy, a set of values that says, if I master this thing called my life or my enterprise, then I'll have this great feeling.
So where is that? It's in there. Okay, either you're conscious of it or you're not. Of, if I achieve these things, if I do these things, I believe that I'm going to have a good life. Okay, now those can change tomorrow. Your beliefs, your story, you can modify them, you can mold them, you can change them with the men here, with writing, with one-on-one coaching that Cynthia and I do, with Cynthia's morning pages. It's something that she's working on to release right now. It's these writing prompts that we just give to you, and you fill in these prompts that help you flush out your purpose and your mission and your want in the world, of what you can be on fire about. They're already there. Okay. You just may not be conscious of it, right? So your spiritual connection to timelessness is there, whether you're conscious of it or not. And that's a big piece of what we're doing here, is flushing these things out. We're naming them, we're pointing at them. That's why we're here for each other, to point that shit out. That's why guys in the chat said, yeah, it sounds like she's depressed. You know, it's not you, Tarzan. It's not 100% you, Tarzan, you know, dude that did the post. It's not 100% you. It sounds like it's mostly her. It sounds like she's collapsing in on her own belief system. Okay, so I shared that link for Tony Robbins. I'm going to finish this quote from Hold On to Your Nuts. Here's that. I shared the link in the chat there. Here's that clip, 6 Steps to Total Success. That clip's really short. It's a teaser for a longer presentation that he has. I don't have that available for you. So if you want to find that, go down that rabbit hole. That's Tony Robbins right there. So let me finish this quote, this passage from Hold On to Your Nuts, and then I want to open it up to Cynthia, who's, please, if you would, Cynthia, honor our chat. I know there's some chat going on, and I want to get to your questions today, guys. We're definitely here for you as well. All you gentlemen that are here, so cool. So yeah, Andy's here, Brett and Harry, you guys are awesome. Kent and Joseph and John and Chris and Pat and Patrick, Sean and Robert and Randy and Todd and Walters. We honor you guys. You guys are phenomenal. So let me share this, and then we'll bounce over to Cynthia again. Again, this is still in part 1 of Hold On to Your Nuts. Remember, you can't ask permission to be the man you want to be. You simply have to be that man. Okay, I'm gonna bold that sucker and make that big here. You can't ask to be permission to be the man you want to be. You simply have to be that man. So here's the subsection: maintaining a firm grasp on your nuts. Wayne Levine's a funny dude. Maintaining a firm grasp on your nuts. To better understand what nuts are and how they work, take a look at the things in your life you're not happy with. You may be unhappy with your relationship with your wife. You may just be unhappy about being unhappy, or be unhappy about being afraid or sad or angry or lonely. Let's say, for example, you're contemplating divorce because you just can't live with your wife anymore. You've had it, and last night was the final straw. She made you, quote unquote, miss your weekly basketball night with the men because she was upset at you for forgetting to run an important errand. You apologize, but tonight, that's not enough for her. She believes a truly caring, apologetic husband would cancel his night out with his buddies. So instead of being the man you want to be, which is apologizing and then sticking with your plans, you stay home, cop an attitude, and make everyone around you miserable. This is an example of allowing yourself to be compromised because you weren't clear about your nuts. I don't think it's supposed to be term. Around the basketball game was negotiable. Oh, your nut, I guess. Your nut around your basketball game was negotiable, apparently. It wasn't a nut, and you sold it out, minimized its importance, and dishonored your commitment to yourself and your buddies, and rationalized it to keep the peace. Why did you do this? Maybe because you felt guilty. Maybe you didn't want to deal with her being upset, or maybe you wanted to avoid another confrontation, or because you felt like it was the right thing to do. But you did it, and now you resent her for making you do it. If your nut had been, I play basketball with my buddies once a week, and I'll add up here, if your nut was, I apologize, my nut is, I apologize if I did something wrong, and then I stick with my plans. Okay? If my nut is, I play basketball with my buddies once a week, you would not have compromised or negotiated it away so easily just because she was unhappy with you. Instead of becoming increasingly more resentful, you could have been more available to deal directly with what caused the tension between the two of you, which had nothing to do with your basketball game. Remember, it was about not having done the errand. Underneath it all, it might have been about her not being able to count on you and how that makes her feel. It would have been helpful for the two of you to have had that conversation. But instead, you compromised your nut, or you didn't have a nut in the first place around this, and nothing productive took place. Wayne Levine says, see how this works? When you hold on to your nuts, the cycle stops. the potential for resentment to build is minimized. Okay, she might still be upset, but she's going to respect that you came to her, you apologized, you asked her about, is this because she can't count on you? And you asked her about how that made her feel and to share that with you. You didn't just compromise and stay home and then be like a little shit about it. Okay. If you hold on to your nuts, the cycle stops. You have an opportunity to work things out with your wife in the moment. No need to call the lawyers. So Cynthia, give us some feedback on that. You were sharing with me this morning when we talked about this, about a relationship from your past where the man didn't have direction in his life, right? He wasn't on fire in his life. He didn't know what his nuts were in his own life. He wanted to be the provider and protector for you, but he didn't have that own energy in his own life. So it was kind of this intellectual just words, I want to be there for you. And it was just words, but you didn't feel it. Okay. And instead of him having nuts, like in this example, Wayne Levine says, this, one of your past relationships, right? He would go and do something else. He would go play golf. He would just kind of avoid and run away. Right. So if you could please give us some feedback on, I just did a lot of presenting there from the book, Hold On to Your Nuts, and Tony Robbins about we as a man, how to lead and be on fire in our life. And I know there's definitely talk in chat. So Cynthia, what does it feel like when a man doesn't have that fire, okay, compared to what Wayne Levine is saying of dealing with it and really owning who you are for those grounded masculine reasons that you shared with us earlier? So please give us your feedback on this, Cynthia. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I every time you used the word nut as you were reading and I was feeling the energy of it, I felt it like in my gut. And I just felt the power of that kind of groundedness in you as a man. In my experience of a previous relationship with a man who had incredible intentions and incredible passion, he didn't know where to put that. And he didn't really believe that he had a gift to give the world, and didn't really truly own his worth. And I could see that. And it was very much fodder for me to keep holding on really tightly to the things I felt were giving me worth, like my job, my purpose. And he would invite me, like he wanted more connection and closeness and intimacy, just in terms of being like a couple. And it I very much wanted to be in a relationship, but I didn't want to be in kind of coupledom with him because I didn't feel his excitement for anything. And so it was really important for me to keep alive the things that were exciting me, and consequently making sure I was controlling that and task listing and kind of be my own like warrior in that sense. And since then, I get to experience what it's like to be in a relationship where I have the things that light me up, but I'm with a partner who is impassioned and empowered and has his own sword in the world. And I can't imagine anything more than wanting to be in partnership and union with him as it stands with, me, him, and the relationship together.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, and that's really hard. So gentlemen, I want to open this up. There's a message from a gentleman in the chat. I'm going to read that here in about 10 seconds. But Cynthia, what you're talking about is the man can say the same things, or he can say the words of his intentions. But if he's not coming from his guts and his heart and from his groin and from his fucking mission in the world and his adventure to be excited out in the world, then it feels shallow, is what I'm hearing there. And so back to your pie reference is, if a woman's not feeling that from him, she wants to feel significance and impact, and she's going to find that either in her own self or from some other place in the world. And that's a piece of the pie that she's not going to go without. She'd love to have it with you, okay? But if you don't have that strength in the world, then she's going to find that either within herself, which makes her more masculine, or she's going to find it someplace else in the world. So in the chat here, this gentleman said, since I have moved back home with my wife, there's been struggles with some health issues. She's had struggles with some health issues and stress-related work stuff. I'm trying to stay in my masculine frame, but honestly feeling overwhelmed. I've made some great strides in the work done on myself, and I don't want to go backwards. I want to stand strong, be a rock, while still being able to invest and grow in who I am. Trying to find balance between my personal growth and relationship with my wife and with my daughters, right? And then there's a question here that says, for Cynthia, how does a man draw his woman into her femininity if she's holding her emotions and feelings with reserve and caution? And these two chat posts here are really similar, right? So if she has health issues and stress-related stuff, Cynthia, which you've mentioned before, she's not feeling confident within herself. She's not feeling as open to vulnerability, right? And the second question is, how does he draw her into her femininity if she's holding her feelings and emotions tight and with reserve and maybe insecurity or maybe with some guilt, right? It's really similar to our open post today as well. So Cynthia, what are some specific things in your opinion? And we're going to open up to ask you questions about this for the last 9 minutes of the show here as well. What's one or two things that a man can start to do, please?
Yeah, I think that it kind of goes back to the pieces of the pie, and even her sense of worth in that she has these emotions, and just even saying like, oh, I really appreciate that you feel this deeply, or I really appreciate that you can share with me how you're feeling, even if you feel her reserve. Or even like, I really appreciate the awareness you have of, your feelings, just kind of calling out in her the value of her emotional world, even if she's not handling it very well. And then it's kind of like the polarity of the magnet, right? The more that you, again, are feeling proud and excited in your own masculinity, and excited for what you're doing in the world and how you're living your life and what you find captivating, and your visions, is an automatic pull and an automatic invitation to her to bring that part of her forth. Going back to the post about like she's having some stress stuff and health issues, I do really feel like from what I've seen in other women, what I've seen in myself, that the feminine often health issues comes up when she's really kind of struggling with her identity as a woman, when she and her kind of owning and valuing her own femininity, as kind of that's in conflict with thinking that she should be a more masculine presence in the world.
Yeah, I love that, Cynthia. So gentlemen, I want you to open your mic if you want to ask Cynthia a question while I read this. So go ahead and open up your mic if you like right now. And Cynthia, you said you can call out to her the value of her emotional world. So you can honor her, is what you're saying. You can honor her emotional world, and you're not trying to fix it. You can call it out. You can call out the struggles that she's going through. Okay. Then there's another level, guys, of where she kind of pushes that away, and that's another level of conversation. And what we're saying here is she might just be neutral. She may not say anything about it. Or she could say thank you. That's cool. But you're not attached. Okay, you have detachment from outcome. We showed this graph last week, this graphic. So if you're approving of her, or if you're affirming her, you're detached from outcome of how she's going to take that. Okay? If you're approving or you're affirming her in a needy way where you're like, oh, well, I hope that she likes what I'm doing, and I hope that she says that I'm a good man because I'm supporting her, then you're really doing that in a needy way. Okay? If you do it in an unattached, with a detached outcome, it doesn't matter how she responds. You're doing that because that's the kind of man that I am. Like we shared in our nuts yesterday, our nuts writing. I'm the kind of man who blank, right? I'm the kind of man who supports my wife regardless. I'm the kind of man who, and I'll use Cynthia's words here, I'm the kind of man who calls out to her the value of her emotional world, even if she's not handling it very well. Right? And Cynthia, you said, it's about the polarity of your magnet, gentlemen, of your magnet as a man. Excited and proud about your own masculinity, what you're doing in the world, and how you're acting in life. Your visions, your captivation of the world is an automatic invitation for her to bring that femininity forth with you. So good. I'm going to quote that in our private forum. So yeah, unmute yourself if you want to jump in while I say, if you're not a member of our private Facebook group, which is free, go to greatmenmovemountains.com/Facebook and punch in your information, and we'll invite you in personally. It's a private closed group. It's free. So either we have to invite you in, or a gentleman that's already in there, guys, you can invite one of your, Facebook friends, and then we still need to approve it and click OK. So every man that's in there, Cynthia or I handle those right now. I look at your request, I look at the invitation, and I click a thumbs up, and then I ask you to introduce yourself in the forum. So if you're not a part of that yet, come on in, it's free. Cool, I've got this fun little video. It's about 1.5 minutes here. That's a representation of our experience. And we will continue this conversation tomorrow regardless on the pie, what a woman wants in the different pieces of her pie, and more enlightenment in the forum as well. So if you haven't posted here or put a question in the chat, meet us on the forum. We're there every single day. Check out this video. Once the seed of faith takes root, it cannot be blown away, even by the strongest wind. That's a Rumi. So cool. We will have storms in our life. A big problem that men come to me is they're blown away by the storm they didn't anticipate. They didn't know was going to happen in their life. That was me, guys, in 2007 and then in 2015. If you've heard my story in the show before, 2015 was definitely the dark night of the soul for me. And that means that we can lean toward the light. We can lean toward the sunrise that's coming. And that's what I think about this show. And that's why I'm so appreciative of Cynthia doing the show with me as well, so we can bring both the masculine and the feminine. Both of us have been professional coaches for 4 years in our own private practice. And we've been in the field of teaching mental health, working in the school systems with the most difficult situations with kids. Everything you can imagine we dealt with in the school system as private or as special education teachers, and on the crisis prevention team. And we were both I was co-chair of my department, and Cynthia led what she did as well, spearheading with families. So we understand what the storm is like. We understand what the darkness is like. And, even with my son, my 10-second story is 2 days ago, he lied to me and stole $20 out of my drawer in my room, lied to me about his video game stuff. He's 16 years old, lied to me about video game stuff right to my face over and over, tried to make me think I'm crazy. And I'd taken $20 out of my room, right? And so I had to walk through that. And guess what? It took a lot of presence to not be really pissed. It took a lot of presence and practice to be the father that I want to be, and to ask him what it felt like in his body when he felt the desire to take that money and to steal. And he said it felt like really heavy in his chest right here. And it felt like risk to him. And not in like a fun, I'm going to get away with it kind of risk, but just a risky thing. And my son has had impulse control for his entire school career since he was 5 years old. And that's why I got into this field. So I love you guys so much. Cynthia, let's honor our men.
Thank you. Andy, I love a comment you made earlier in the chat. You said, she needs to respect and admire you, and we as men need to admire and respect ourselves. Please know you have my deepest admiration and greatest respect. And this is high level stuff. And I am so grateful just to be in the presence of men, of a tribe of people who are not afraid of the high level things. It is truly an honor, and I am truly grateful to be here. So thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Love you so much. We'll see you on the forums. This has been the C-Note Show, brought to you by Great Men Move Mountains and greatmenmovemountains.com. Go to greatmenmovemountains.com/free program to get our new free program of how to solve the number one fear of divorce, number one cause of divorce in 10 days. And the number one cause of divorce is fear. So we're going to help you solve that fear of divorce in 10 days through that free program. And again, we shared how to be in our private Facebook group. We have other free resources on our website. And like we're going on over 20 C-Note Show videos on YouTube. I have over 60 other little videos that I've done over the past year and a half as well. All that stuff is free, right? And if you want one-on-one coaching to move forward as fast as you possibly can and kick ass in the world and use these tools, right, with our help every single day and every single week, go to greatmenmovemountains.com/contact and fill out the form there. I've got a 2-minute clip that's called You Versus You, and about you getting in your own fucking way and about getting out of your own way, right? And asking a little bit more of yourself today than you did yesterday, and how you'd ask for more of someone else than sometimes you even do about yourself.
People have this reoccurring nightmare that there's something, some force that's got a hold of them and it's holding them down and they can't break free. No matter what they do, they can't break free from that force. Well, I'm here to tell you that that thing in your nightmare, that thing that's holding you back, that thing that's dragging you down, that thing is you.
There are two fundamental attitudes toward life and its sorrows. Those with the first attitude blame the world. Those with the second ask what they could do differently. It's much easier and much more gratifying to your basest desires to blame someone else for your misery.
You know what's so funny? We want people to make guarantees to us, but we're not willing to make guarantees to ourselves. And that's the problem with some of you. You always want to blame other people. You owe you an explanation. You need to look at yourself in the mirror and say, why are you only giving 50%? What's wrong with you? You need to put yourself on punishment. You need to tell you no more TV, no more snacks, no more desserts. No, we working out now. You need to tell you that you owe you something. Every day I demand more from myself than anybody else could humanly expect. I'm not competing with somebody else. I'm competing with what I'm capable of. My number one competition is me. It's always you versus you. You got to be the one to get up every morning, be disciplined, put in the consistent daily hard work, because that gains success. No coach, no trainer, no mentor, no boss can do it. You versus you. I value myself enough to give 120% or don't do it. There is no excuse for not living up to your fullest potential. No excuse. You walk out of this room, you owe yourself. I didn't get here making excuses. What changed? I changed. And I stopped being a victim. I stopped saying I've got to wait for good things to happen to me. And I said I'm going to grind. I'm going to fight. I'm going to work. I'm going to press toward. I'm going to learn. I'm going to do everything in my power every single day to become a victor and not a victim. Why? Because I owe it to myself. Can't nobody stop me but me.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. We'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Mountain.
It's sunshine, whose body burn hot. I'ma tell you about a woman who's cold as tundra with some frozen eyes. I can tell by the way she moves that she cares and it's lovely.